Welcome in, welcome in. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hopefully, you guys are having a good day getting through the week. We've made it halfway through. We're almost to the weekend where we can set sail on all of our devices and really just kind of spend time with family and relax. Unfortunately, today we have to start off with a very upsetting, sad story because police in the UK say that a gentleman drove a vehicle into a bunch of pedestrians, got out, and then stabbed two people to death. The assailant was shortly apprehended by police officers and was shot and killed himself, bringing the death toll to three, with three other people in critical condition. And this was outside of a synagogue in the UK, and police over there are saying that this was a terroristic attack. This is Yom Kippur, which in the Jewish religion is one of the more holy days of the religion. I think it's considered their holiest day of repentance. There's a lot of ceremonial things that go into it. There's a lot of traditions that go into it as well. So no doubt this was deliberately attacked for that reason. We will find more information out on who the perpetrator is as time goes on. But it really makes me, really frustrates me when things like this happen because unfortunately, the first thing I think of is that three people total died, which is one less than the people who died over this past weekend at the Church of Latter-day Saints here in the United States in Michigan. And the thing is that whenever this happens, the argument always shifts to gun control. And we've talked about this, I think, more than anything else on this channel. We've talked about gun control and how I don't necessarily think gun reform or gun control is going to change any of the results we have. But on this specific topic, this was done with a knife. And in fact, a gun and a properly trained police officer no doubtably saved more people from getting at least hurt by killing the assaulter. So I think that's something that's this is not going to be talked about from that angle, and it really frustrates me because the next time that a shooting happens in this country, it will just be blamed on guns. And the reality of it is that I can scream it from the mountaintops, I can scream it from wherever, but until other people start to scream what I scream and that becomes an echo, nothing will change. But gun reform and gun change will not fix the problem. The UK has one of the toughest, most rigorous processes of getting guns. Not just one background checks. There's multiple background checks to do. Assault rifles and handguns are just straight up banned. You cannot have them. You can only have shotguns. And one more type of rifle. You have to demonstrate what you're using it for. There has to be a safe protocol of how you plan to store it at your house. So these are all things that I hear people in America say they want done in America for gun control. But this is one life short of the total death count that just happened with a gun in America. This gentleman stabbed people to death. And so, this is clearly not a gun issue. And it's unfortunate because this is just something that really didn't have to happen. It shouldn't have happened. Police say that as of now they have identified the man, but they are not going to release the name just yet. Again, this is all developing and happening less than an hour, maybe 2 hours ago of when I when I started the recording of this video. And it's just, I mean, you can go look at the numbers per, the size of UK versus America. I mean, America is 40 times bigger than the UK, and the deaths over there are still they still happen, and it's still an attack, and so I think that's something that is to be addressed, and we should really take a look at it. But speaking of addressed and something we should really take a look at, I want to talk about day two of the American government shutdown. Dun, dun, dun. And so this is day two. Again, we're still pointing fingers. We're still blaming each other for the reason. Democrats say it's their fault. Or Republicans say it's Democrats' fault. Democrats say it's Republicans' fault. But what I really want to talk about is I think a lot of impartial people are really honing in on the fact that this is really just a discussion and a disagreement over the healthcare budget. And there are things that have not been happening since Donald Trump was elected. that were happening with Biden, that were happening with Obama. And so I think one of those things is the expansion of Medicaid and the ability to help illegal immigrants get, you know, treatment in this country. And, if that's the case, I really just don't know where the problem becomes with people. Um, because, we have laws and we have reasons. And one of those laws is don't come here illegally. And one of the reasons is because we want you to appreciate the value of this country. And we sort of, if you're not from here, we sort of want you to earn the value of the country by doing it the proper way. And so if you're going to prevent people from having to do that, but then you're going to give them rewards, they'll be taken advantage of. They'll be used against other people, taxpayers who pay taxes, right? So I just don't understand where the hiccup of why would you want that? So I guess my question is, if you're someone who is on the Democrat side of it, why would you want illegal immigrants to have free healthcare, right? Because the other thing too is, can't we just tell them to go to Canada? Doesn't Canada have free healthcare? If you snuck into one country, you can sneak into another, right? Can't be that hard, especially from Canada. I mean, I used to live on a Canadian border. You could pretty much walk in there. So I don't know how difficult it would be, but if you want free healthcare, why not just go to where there is free healthcare? Um, but that's sort of where I stand on it in that regard. I'm very. I would love some people who agree with the Democrat side of it to explain to me or have a discussion with me about why, if that is the reason. If not, then what's the other reason? Because I see a lot of Here's the thing about it. I see a lot of Republicans say that it's because of the Medicaid or the medical budget, and then I see a lot of Democrats just saying that Republicans are spineless and they don't care about the people and they don't want to have the best interest of the Americans. And so, like, the Republicans seem to be pointing at a fact, and the Republicans or the Democrats seem to be pointing at a personality trait. So I'd love to know what the truth is. I mean, I'll continue to do some research, but I think politicians lie all the time anyway on both sides. So I don't necessarily know if we'll ever get an answer, but I would love to know from an American standpoint, who is on the left side leaning, what you think that the problem really is. As I mentioned yesterday, it's been a very long time since a president who a president served a full term that didn't have at least a partial shutdown. So it's just par for the course at this point. Next, also, I have something to address. So in one of my last videos earlier this week, or my other videos earlier this week, I talked about Steven Crowder coming back with his Change My Mind. Now, at the time, we didn't know that it was like confirmed that it was going to come back. But now we know that it A, did come back, and B, he's already posted the first couple of videos. Now, the first video he posted yesterday, and that's already at 1 million views. And the second video he posted today, part 2, it's already at 35,000. About an hour ago, it was released. And I want to say that I was wrong about his demeanor when he did this. And I think it's a good thing to admit when you're wrong. There's just one sort of problem to me with the overall aspect is, if you watch this recent Change My Mind, which is titled "The Left is Violent, Change My Mind." So if you watch this and you sit there, you're like, wow, okay, this guy's actually having like an honest conversation. He's having like a real in depth, like taking the time to learn what each other are saying, get to know each other's beliefs. And that's what's interesting about him and Charlie, is that Charlie was kind of question, answer, move on. Steven is actually having a discussion with the people. And I think that's really cool. And I sort of forgot about that element of it when I was talking about it the other day. But more importantly, the bigger issue is I'm going to concede that I was wrong, right? I will give the correct apology, or the correct wrongness, that I said he was going to come back and he was going to be a gimmick, and it was going to be taking over what someone else, his competitor, used to do, and now he's going to kind of do his shtick there. The difference is, the way Steven Crowder acts in these videos is not even comprehensible to the way he acts on his Rumble channel, when he's on with like Piers Morgan, when he's on the news, when he's anywhere else than where he is right now. This is not how he acts. And the Steven Crowder who is doing this Change My Mind is the Steven Crowder that I think I remember watching when I was in high school, and is the Steven Crowder that I think I remember watching when I was younger, and I was like, wow, this guy's pretty nice. So I think if this is a Steven Crowder who could be through and through this type of guy, well spoken, elegant, allowing people to talk, but you go watch any of his panel presentations or his board or even his daily show, it's like gimmicky and it's like wacky, like whoa, and it's like it's just not I don't like that product. So I thought that was the guy who was going to be coming to the change my mind. But this guy who's here now, this Steven Crowder, this is a very good Steven Crowder. You know, he still has the whole divorce thing and getting demonetized on YouTube, which I found out that was true. But anyway, that's pretty much all I want to talk about today. There are some other stories here and there throughout the news. But that synagogue story, the government shutdown, and Steven Crowder. I just kind of wanted to make those quick points and just kind of express that. I think there was some good done with Steven Crowder, and I'm excited. Now for the government won't be able to vote again until I believe this weekend because they won't vote today because of Yom Kippur. There are some Jewish people in Congress who are busy with that, so they will not vote today. But I think tomorrow they can vote, and then they can vote any day. It's not like they have to wait a week or once a week or something like that. They can vote as many times as they need to. But that's going to be it for today's episode. There were no comments on any of my last videos, so make sure to leave comments so I can read them at this point because that was fun to do. And I will see you guys later.